Welcome to the LDN radio show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elseygood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose Naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. This show is sponsored by our members who made donations. We'd like to give them a very big thank you. We have to cover the monthly costs of the radio station's software, bandwidth, phone lines and phone calls to be able to continue with the radio show. And thank you for listening. Today my guest is Andra Maria, and she's from Romania, and she uses LDN for multiple sclerosis. Thank you for joining me today.
A pleasure.
So this is really exciting. Can you tell us, in your own words, when you were diagnosed, what you were like at that time and what you're like now?
Well, actually, when I first was diagnosed in 2012, it was kind of a shock, but at the same time, it was a relief. Because after 2 years of going back and forth to all sorts of doctors, I finally got a diagnosis. But then, after I understood what kind of disease I had, I was kind of depressed for 6 months, I think. And then, because I'm a really optimistic person, I said, well, these are the cards that I have from life. So with these cards, I will play along.
Mm-hmm.
It all started with urinary incontinence. I was very dizzy. I was not seeing very well. I had all sorts of mixed feelings. I was happy. I was sad. All sorts of feelings, actually. And then after, in 2013, actually, I'm in a national program from multiple sclerosis. I entered and I became, I started the treatment with Rebif, beta interferon.
Yep.
And beta interferon did wonders for me for the first 3 years. But after 2 more years, I started feeling worse, not being able to walk properly. I had a lot of fatigue. I had a lot of balance issues. I couldn't concentrate a lot. And I decided to stop the Rebif. I talked to my doctor and I said, I think the treatment isn't going very well. The process between changing from one medicine to another, because now I'm on Tysabri for 9 months, but the period from going to one from another was for about 1 year, I think. And I really realized that in this year I have to do something because I couldn't just stay and watch myself going down every day and being sad and not being able to do all the things a normal person does.
Yeah.
Then, actually, I didn't find out about LDN on myself. My husband did, because he was really affected by my illness. So he was searching through the internet, and at one point he found a video about LDN, about people in Norway or Sweden who take it. And he showed me that video, and he said, "What do you think? What are you going to try this medicine?" And I said, actually, I'm a very optimistic person, and I think that all the things that happened in life are for a reason. So I think there was a reason why my husband discovered LDN. And I said, yeah, definitely, I'll give it a try. Well, what can it do wrong? Because I did all the research. And then my husband found this group as well. He made me an invitation. I read all the information you have on the Facebook group. And I said, well, I'm going to talk to my neurologist about it. I'm very lucky that my neurologist is a very open person, and it's open to new, and she's not very strict. And I went to her with all the informational sheets, and I said to her, look, I would really like to try this medicine. And she said, okay, let me make my homework on it. Just let me read and see, and I'll see you back in a couple of days. After a couple of days, I went to her. I had a prescription for Naltrexone. This was actually in February. Just in February, it is a year since I started LDN. And I started taking the 50 milligram pill, put it in 50 milliliters of water, dissolve it, and I started my first dose was with 0.50. I started from there. I took 0.50 for about 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, I went to 1. And the best time for me on LDN was last year in March, when I was lucky enough to go in Thailand, and I had the time of my life because I was able to go around and visit all sorts of things without fatigue, without worrying about anything. So that was great for me. And then I realized, wow, this medicine is great. Who knew? Because although I read all of those positive things that people go through, I read about many people who don't get well immediately and who don't have any improvement in their systems. And I crossed my fingers and said, well, let's hope that's not me.
Yeah.
Now, I can say that now, almost a year from that moment when I was normal for 2 weeks, I can say I'm not as well as them, but for example, I did a lot of tests on myself, and I decided to stop LDN for 2-3 days. And then I noticed a very significant difference in my state.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I said, no, this is not a medicine to drop out of it. So I must stick to it. And I want to tell you that I'm very grateful that this medicine exists. I'm very grateful of all the people who shared their stories and their experience. I'm very grateful for you who are the admins for this group, and I want to say thank you. You're doing a wonderful job. And from my point of view, whenever I go and I talk to people that have the same disease as I, and I always end up putting on the table at a discussion the LDN. And I always mentioned it's done wonders for me. But as you know, people are people, and some of them are skeptical, and some of them are not lucky like I was to have a great doctor who trusts my knowledge and who trusts that I will never go to my doctor to say that I want to use a medicine if I do not read about it before.
Mm-hmm.
So people, when I go and tell them about LDN, are really skeptical, and they're looking at me funny, and they're asking me questions. But what's this medicine for? And I start telling them, well, this medicine is for something else, but it's used in a lot of diseases and a lot of illnesses. And people are really skeptical. So
that's right.
I guess you.
Sorry. Carry on.
I guess you went through that as well.
Yes.
When you go and tell people.
You can give people the information, answer all their questions, but everybody is entitled to make their own mind up what they think is right for them. I know there are some times when I want to say to people, please just try it,
Yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. We get a lot of phone calls and people will say, with multiple sclerosis, well, I'm okay right now. I don't need to take anything, but I know that LDN is there. So when I deteriorate, I can take it.
Okay.
And it's like, well, if you take it now, you might not deteriorate. Why wait until, you start to notice you're not so good? But you can't force your ideas on other people. You have to allow them to make their own mind up. But it is sad when the choice isn't what you would expect or what you would like them to say.
Yes, I want to tell you that if I knew sooner about LDN, probably I would take it from the start. So that's definitely a choice I will make. I would make, even though in 2012 I was better. Mm-hmm. Because in 2012, when I was diagnosed, I didn't have fatigue, I wasn't dizzy, and all sorts of MS stuff. But definitely, if I knew about LDN, then I would have taken it. So I wouldn't think about it. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to tell you also that I take LDN. Now I'm on Tysabri, but I also have, let's say, a strict diet. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat sugar. Definitely. No. For about 2 years now, I think. So for about 2 years, I don't eat gluten. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat sugar. Definitely not. So...
it does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yes. For me, it did. And actually, it did for my husband too, because my husband doesn't have any illnesses. And for supporting me, he has the same diet as I.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it has done wonders for him.
Good.
Because he lost a lot of weight, his back doesn't hurt anymore, and all sorts of these things. So I think, from my point of view, I'm trying to, the knowledge I have now about eating correctly, about LDN, I always try to pass it on, not only to sick, to ill persons. I always try to pass it to persons that are okay. And I'm always trying to tell them it will make a change in your life. Eating just what's right. But again, you cannot force people. You can only give them the information. If they are interested to try it, they will try it. If not, exactly how you said before. People, you cannot force people.
No. Has to be the choice. But you have an amazing story, and thank you so much for having shared it with us today.
Thank you, and again, thank you to all the people in the group. And I want to say again, a special thank you to my husband, who gave me LDN, who found it and gave it to me. And besides the LDN, because he really makes a difference in my life with all of his support.
Well, long may your success continue. Thank you.
Thank you, and hopefully to hear about more successes.
This show is sponsored by our members who made donations. We'd like to give them a very big thank you. We have to cover the monthly costs of the radio station's software, bandwidth, phone lines and phone calls to be able to continue with the radio show. And thank you for listening. Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.